Writer James Baldwin once said, "I do not have a dream job, for I do not dream of labor. But if you gotta work, pro wrestler seems like a pretty good job." But what are you supposed to do after your time in the squared circle is over? Well, in today's Countout, we're going to be looking at 10 wrestlers who had unique and interesting jobs after their time in the professional wrestling business was over. Welcome to Suplex.
Jesse Ventura.
On paper, the life of Jesse Ventura reads like a wrestling version of Forrest Gump. You got Navy frogman, football coach, professional wrestler. But Jesse wasn't satisfied with any of those jobs and set his sights on one with some real power. And no, I'm not talking about being the 38th governor of Minnesota, which he was. I'm talking about real power. The type of power that only comes from having a show on basic cable. Deep basic cable. And from 2009 to 2012, True TV, aka the network the Impractical Jokers built, that's exactly what they did. They ran a show that looked into conspiracy theories with Jesse Ventura, and that show was called Conspiracy Theories with Jesse Ventura. The show ran for 3 seasons, and the list of 22 episodes reads like your aunt's search history. You know the one I'm talking about, the one who's always on Facebook. Jesse is rumored to be eyeing a presidential run in 2024, and I, for one, would be absolutely stoked if he won. Could you imagine him getting in there and declassifying all the government's deep, dark secrets? We'd finally be able to know if Montreal was an inside job.
Bull Nagano.
Besides having one of the best leg drops in the history of professional wrestling, that's right, eat your heart out, Hulkster, Bull Nagano has one of the most interesting jobs after pro wrestling. I'm not talking about her stellar work as my sleep paralysis demon. When Bull Nagano was done with the world of professional wrestling, she did what everybody does when they retire. Play golf. But unlike your folks who spend their winters in Florida, Bull was not looking for fun and leisure on the links. She had her sights set on making it to the LPGA. She didn't start golfing until 1998, and by 2006, she had made it on the tour. In just 8 years, that's mind-melting. I've been playing golf since I was a child, and I still can't hit the ball straight. Perhaps working on my leg drop will help. Bull seems like one of those people that would just be dominant at everything she tried. And I, for one, get up every day with a sigh of relief that Bull just wanted to play golf and do professional wrestling and didn't want to be the supreme ruler of Earthrealm. Whew, we dodged a bullet on that one.
Ray Tormenta.
Wait. Nacho Libre, the Jack Black movie, was based on a real guy? It sure was, and that man was Fray Tormenta, which translates to Friar Storm in English. Tormenta was inspired as a young kid watching movies that depicted poor priests who at nights would go and wrestle and make money to support local orphanages. Sometimes art imitates life, but in this case, Tormenta decided that his life was going to imitate art. So he decided to do exactly what he saw in those movies. Tormenta wrestled for 23 years, and during those 23 years, he used his winnings to support and run an orphanage. Since retiring in 2011, he still runs the orphanage and is now a full-time priest. And true to his luchador heritage, he still performs all of his church services with his mask on. Fun fact about him, he actually officiated the wedding between WWE wrestler Charlotte Flair and AEW wrestler Andrade El Idolo. Tormenta is one of the coolest stories in all of pro wrestling. Please let us know in the comments if you'd like to see a longer form smartened up on him, because I, for one, would love to make it.
Midian.
The hog farmer turned nudist enthusiast Midian is next on our list. Midian, who retired from the world of professional wrestling in 2012, definitely has to wear pants at his current role. No longer does he answer to The Undertaker, he now has to answer to a higher power, the Health Inspector. Since leaving the world of professional wrestling, the former ministry man has become a sushi chef. The former 3-time champion in the WWF looks to be crafting elegant dishes in a high-end restaurant now. However, his go-to recipes hit a little bit closer to home. Now, don't be fooled by his time as a hog farmer Phineas I. Godwin. His initials are pig. His Nan's eggplant parmesan and olive oil poached sea bass are some of his favorite recipes to make. And if anyone knows where I can get an eggplant parm made by the one and only former Tex Slazenger, let me know in the comments below. And just remember, when you talk to him, address him by his new working name, Chef. If you're like me and want an eggplant parm, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button? I'm not saying you'll get one by hitting the like button, but it couldn't hurt your chances.
Christopher Nowinski.
Now this one's a little more serious. Chris is an interesting case, however. He didn't start watching wrestling till he was a senior at Harvard, where he actually played football as well. Not only was Chris a standout athlete, he also graduated Harvard with honors, and after graduation he decided he wasn't done with school and attended professional wrestling school with Killer Kowalski. And let that be a lesson to you. If a Harvard honors graduates are into professional wrestling, then professional wrestling is cool and smart. Chris's impact on the wrestling world has been felt tenfold more than the amount of time he was actually a professional wrestler. And that's not to discount his efforts in the ring, but since leaving wrestling, Chris got his PhD in neuroscience from Boston University. Chris is currently the CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, which he also helped co-found. He's been one of the foremost experts of CTE in the world of professional sports. And most recently, Chris has come out to speak against the dangers of power slap and its connection to CTE, which puts us on the same page about power slap. Yes, we both agree that taking unprotected shots to the head will cause brain damage, but I take it one step further with my beliefs. I also think merely watching power slap causes the same effect on the viewer. Power slap in the accompanying reality TV show is so messed up, I think Caligula would find it in poor taste.
Steve Blackman.
Why on earth would you ever borrow money from the Lethal Weapon Steve Blackman with the intent of skipping out on it? That is not a successful blueprint for a long life. Blackman was one of the legit tough guys in pro wrestling, and his legend is well known by all of us who grew up in the Attitude Era. I'm talking about taking down the 7-foot-tall Big Show, to embarrassing the locker room bully JBL with one punch at the airport baggage claim. Blackman bail bonds is still going strong, so if you break the law in Pennsylvania, the Lethal Weapon will get you out, with 10% cash down, of course. Just make sure you make the court date, or you're going to catch one of those excrement sticks to the noggin.
Rick Steiner.
Rick Steiner is probably the most sane of the Steiner brothers when it comes to pro wrestling, which, I know, that's not saying a lot, but you have to be a pretty sick and twisted individual to get into the cesspool that is local politics. Dog-faced Gremlin decided he was going to do just exactly that, and he was running for school board. There was one brief setback in his quest for local school board domination. He used his wrestling name to fill out the form to run, which DQ'd him from the primary. Never fear, though. Rick did not need to win the primary because no one else ran. Rick won unopposed. Which, looking back at it, could you imagine being the bureaucrat who told Rick Steiner he could not run for school board despite there being no one running? I know rules are rules, but that's big Rick Knox energy. I imagine that guy was not a fan of WCW television, because if you watch the Steiner brothers hit that diving bulldog one too many times, there's not too much you're going to say wrong about them.
Spike Dudley.
Next on our list is Spike Dudley. This man went from 3rd grade teacher's assistant to ECW icon to an 11-time WWF champion to his current gig being a financial planner. The former run to the Dudley litter has taken enough risk for one life, so I feel that your money will be safe in his hands. Trading in his fatigues for sensible slacks, Spike Dudley said in a 2012 interview with WWE.com that he wanted to help wrestlers that were in the same situations that he found himself in. You can make some good money in the wrestling business, but that won't last forever. Spike wanted to make sure wrestlers had enough to last them after their time in the squared circle was over. Which is a noble cause, seeing as wrestlers still don't have a union or good retirement. There's no jokes there. That just needs to change right now.
Ted DiBiase.
After his professional wrestling career was over, it seems like Ted DiBiase was looking to make amends with the Lord. The once dastardly villain of WWF television decided he would become a reverend and start his own ministry. Sounds like he turned over a new leaf, right? Well, if you said yes, you'd be dead wrong! In 2020, he was investigated for fraud and misuse of welfare funds for his ministry. Fun fact, Brett Favre, the Brett Favre of Green Bay Packers fame, was also named in the same suit. The suit looked to recover more than $20 million in money that had been squandered from the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Anti-Poverty Program in the state of Mississippi. Now, I'm no forensic accountant, but this is the $1 Million Man we're talking about. He don't need the extra money. Oh, no. This was for the love of the game. No matter if it's ruining a kid's day by cheating them out of a couple $100 or allegedly embezzling state welfare funds to the tune of a couple $100,000, the $1 Million Man is still as bad as they come. The $1 Million Man taught us one thing, and that's everybody has a price. And I hope for Ted's sake, the judge's price is not too high.
Scott Steiner.
The big bad booty daddy traded bumps for breakfast buffets when he left the world of professional wrestling. And I know it's hard to imagine Scott Steiner doing anything besides being a wrestler. Well, maybe teaching college algebra. After leaving wrestling, the WWE Hall of Famer opened up a Shoney's in Ackworth, Georgia with his wife. Not only was the restaurant a great fast casual bite, but it was also home of the Scott Steiner Museum. Scott was hands-on with the business and could be seen there regularly, counting receipts at the end of the night. Sadly, like a lot of restaurants during COVID, they shut down, taking the Scott Steiner Museum, my personal Graceland, down with it. Steiner's currently weighing his options on what his next move will be, but now knowing the fact that he ran a restaurant for a few years, I want to see a reality TV show where Scott Steiner goes in and he helps failing restaurants. Now you're saying to yourself, Michael, we already have that show. It's called Kitchen Nightmares. And to that, I say, what's a real nightmare? Some posh British guy with good hair yelling at you? Or the fact if you don't get your act together, you could be on the receiving end of a Steiner screwdriver? I know which one's a little more motivating for me.
Thank you all so much for watching this and everything here at Suplex. We're trying to bring you more fun wrestling content. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, don't take life so seriously. It's a work.